There's this one line of Gurudev's which I think about sometimes where he said, when I heard him say it, I had to like, I played, I was on a recording, I played it like a few times. Like, he said, we don't know how many things we are losing if we don't get good association. Oh no, he said, we are losing so many things. How did he say it exactly? But he said it like that, like he said it in, when you phrase things in a different way, it really hits you more. Like it's a very clever way to say it, really, really makes you think it over. We don't know how many things we're losing by not getting good association, by not getting good association. And conversely, how much are we gaining when we can have good association? Right? So it's a great blessing in our lives to have the association, to be in the association of the Vaishnavas. And it's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, right? Rupa Goswami, he gives the criteria for good association. The uh, do you remember the Sanskrit, the Suvasini? I can't remember right now. Uh, Sadhu Sangha Sato Sajatya Vishay. What is it? Sajatya Snigde Sadhu Sangha Satovare. Sajatya Yashaye Snigde Sadhu Sangha Satovare. I think it's does that sound right to you, Subhasini? Saying that literally it says something like one who has the same type of affection for the Lord and is higher than yourself. That is the best, right? And by that, the same type of affection means that you're cultivating the same mood, the same ideals, right? The same conception, and so on, all these things. And then ideally, of course, senior, higher of a higher level. But if that's not possible, at least that they have the same ideal in life, right? This is the type of association that we want to seek out. So if we can have that, we are very blessed. In whatever form it is, right now we're all blessed with virtual association. So whatever form it may be. Reading the books also, Gurudev mentioned that many times, right? When we don't have physical association, then we can take shelter of the books, right? We can get association like that. But nowadays, right, with all this modern technology, we have videos, we have tapes, of our great exalted gurus, right? And then also within our group of present day Vaishnavas, we have our online meetings and so we're really so spoiled for choice, actually. So yes, we just had 3 or 4 days in Vrindavan with a nice group of international devotees and visited some of the key places um, in our, connected with our gurus. And I was especially happy we went to Sanatan Goswami's place. I haven't been there for quite some time. Sanatan Goswami's Samadhi mandir. It's a little tucked away. His temple is very famous and very prominent, Madan Mohan Mandir, where he worshipped his deity Madan Mohan. But then a little tucked away is his Samadhi. And it's been restored, and I mean, there's a very honorable, temple that's been built around his Samadhi, and they maintain it very nicely, which is very nice to see. But we had a particularly nice meeting there, remembering some of the glories of Sanatan Goswami. And also for Bodhananda Saraswati Thakur, his Samadhi is also nearby. And so we're very blessed to be able to remember all these great Vaishnavas in a more concentrated way. Anyhow, I don't know if anyone has a topic for today. I'm just rambling. Anyone have any suggestions for our meeting today? Maybe Bimal Krishna Prabhu, do you have any or any reflections or meditations? You're a very qualified Vaishnava.
Dandavat Vishaka, Dandavat devotees. It's very early here, so my family's all sleeping. So I'll be a little quiet. Hopefully you can hear me just fine.
Yeah, you're
Um,
coming out loud and clear. Yeah.
okay, beautiful. I do have to leave to work in a while, so forgive me when I
Mm.
just abruptly leave. But I do watch your classes every time. I watch them at work during lunch typically. So
Oh.
I'm following along even if I'm not here in person. But um, just some thoughts. I was listening to Sudarshan was giving the Gita class last night in Salt Lake City, and something
Mhm.
that they were reading, the end of chapter 18 and the Sarvadharma verse, Sarvadharma Prityaja. But it gets you thinking because there's like Krishna's telling us to give up all religion and just surrender to him, and I was
Mhm.
thinking about that. And we're all practicing that in our own way, or we're trying to follow Gurudev's instructions. And I just sometimes it seems so difficult. Like, well, how do we come to Krishna? And that's kind of what was coming to me, but it made me realize, which I mean, these are all just thoughts. I'm just sharing my mind, which is kind of
Mm.
scary. But no, just it just made me realize how important the devotees are, Srila Gurudev. That's why we have our guru, because otherwise, um, Krishna's just, it seems like an abstract thing, if you're trying to come to, how do we come to Krishna? Or like,
Mm.
ultimately, we all know that we can't necessarily come to Krishna like Krishna comes to us, he reveals himself to us.
Mm.
And, but that was just a thought I had. And Srila Guru Maharaj in Sri Sri Upadeshamrita in one of his commentaries, he mentions that, like, sometimes when we're searching, after Krishna, that it can seem abstract, and he goes, but that leaves room for the Vaishnava. So anyway,
Mm.
I don't know, you can say something a lot more elegant than I can and deeper, but anyway, that's my thought. Is just how important association is. It seems to be
Mm.
kind of the theme, um, especially in the absence of Srila Gurudev, personally. I mean, he's still there in his devotees, and that's the beauty of connecting with everybody, is we can all come together and share and
Mm.
remember Gurudev's teachings and, Mahaprabhu. And so anyway, that's just kind of what's been coming to my mind. And just also
Mm.
trying to do service. I don't live near a temple. So this for me is association, and I'm greatly appreciative of it. And we can all still practice in our daily lives, though. I mean, service. Gurudev told
Mm.
me last time I was with Gurudev, he said that he didn't really ever. I didn't speak to Gurudev a whole lot. I was around Gurudev a lot, sitting outside of his door, helping, with just being around with Gurudev. But he told me, he says, Krishna's giving service, and we're all his servitors. He says, you remember that. And so for me, it means a lot of different things throughout my life as I meditate upon that. But for me, a big part of that was I have a family. And
Mm.
sometimes, I want to be in temples and I want to go on these parikrams and I want to do all these things with the devotees. But like I have my seva, and my duty is my family at this time, and trying to, you know, bring them into Krishna consciousness. And so we can practice Krishna consciousness in our lives, like wherever we're at. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to be at a temple or we have to be in the Dham, or, we can practice this
Mm.
anywhere. And that's,
Mm.
also something I'm trying to do and just in my own personal life.
Mm.
And
Can Prabhu,
I'm grateful for all your
can you say
conversations.
again what was Gurudev's instruction to you? What?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because we were leaving, and Ananda Moy was in the room with me and Prafula Krishna, where we were all there leaving, and she was telling Gurudev, like, Gurudev, I hope that we can come and see you again, sometime soon. And but then Gurudev, he's looking right at me, and that's when he says, Krishna's giving service, and we are all his servitors. He says, you remember that. And I didn't realize,
Wait,
it
wait,
took me a minute to realize.
can you say that again? The
Yeah,
Gurudev. Yeah.
he says Krishna is giving service, and
Krishna
we are
is
all his,
giving service,
yes, and we are all his servitors.
and we are all his servitors.
So you remember that.
You
And
remember.
then later afterwards, Mahananda said, "Did you hear your instruction from Gurudev?" because I didn't even realize because Nanda Moy was talking to Gurudev, so I didn't know he was talking to me, but Mahananda said, "He's did you hear like Gurudev's instruction to you?" Because he's looking right at me, but just the whole. But so, anyways, it's very beautiful because in my mind too, I was leaving Gurudev. I didn't think I'd ever see Gurudev again, like in present, because just the timing, everything, his health wasn't great, and I was leaving India to go back to America, so I wasn't sure, and I wanted to ask Gurudev for instruction, but I was too like I guess afraid to he might tell me give me some instruction and I wouldn't be able to follow it and I would commit some offense. So in my heart I wanted some instruction, but I was too I guess feeble or I don't know the word, but I just didn't ask, and then but Gurudev knowing my heart, he gave me some instruction, and so now I'm trying like I just keep those words in my heart and just try to follow, and they mean so many different things in my life and like my own personal struggles, and like I've meditated on that, a long time, and it's brought up so many different things, but it's kind of a treasure for me. I'm sure we all have our things Gurudev said that we
Hmm.
hold dearly. So anyway, my dandavats to you all. I'm happy to be here, and really my dandavats to you. Jai Gurudev.
Krishna is giving service and we are all his servitors. Remember that. Uh, well, we can all try to remember that. Very nice. Mhm. Yes. Yes, it sometimes is challenging, right? To understand what is our service when we're in different circumstances in our lives, right? It's one thing if, you're in a temple and it's all very straightforward. This needs to be done, that needs to be done, but we have to remember, right? Ultimately, what is service? It is something that's taking place on the plane of consciousness, right? It's not. Of course, it's a conception that will mature, right? Hopefully, for all of us, our conception of service, it will mean one thing, and well, in the beginning, service will be, oh, I'm going to wash the pots, or I'm going to fundraise, or I'm going to do some gardening in the temple, right? And obviously, it will always be that, right? But as we mature, we will understand that actually service it's a zone of consciousness. It's a plane of consciousness that we're trying to cultivate, right? That we're trying to connect with. And that entails wholesale surrender, right? That entails a wholesale transformation of consciousness. Then we will understand, oh, I may physically go to the temple and do the seva, but where is actually my head? Where's my consciousness? And where's my taste for the holy name and all these things, right? So it is something that will become more, there are so many finer and finer layers of understanding that will begin to open to us, right? And then living in family life, of course, and that then you're all, it's actually, I was just having a nice talk with, there's this one young family here, very nice devotees, Krishna Sharan and Parama Sundari. You probably know them from Salt Lake City. They were living there for some time. um but we were having some discussion along these topics too, right? And in many ways it's actually more challenging, right? Because you're you're trying to keep that service connection and service vision when you're in circumstances that aren't always favorable, right? So in many ways it can be more difficult. They were saying how austere it can be actually, raising children, all the things that come along with that, how much austerity that entails, right? But yes, and it gives the opportunity to be in a situation where you can conceive of yourself as being a proprietor of something, right? This is my wife, my husband, my children, my house, and you're being faced in with this kind of circumstance. but you're trying to overcome that at the same time, trying to transform your vision. Oh, these are all, Krishna's children. These are all Krishna's servitors. This is Krishna's property, Krishna's house, Krishna's wealth, and trying to enter this more broad and service-based consciousness, right? Even in the midst of having it, there's no room for, in other words, there's no room for false renunciation, right? Because it's one thing to live in a temple and think you're renounced, but once you actually go out and face the world and try and integrate, it all may go to, may all fall apart, right? So when you're living in that type of circumstance, you really have to confront those things within yourself, right? And try to see how Krishna's connection is everywhere. But you're a very beautiful example of Imal Prabhu, and we all know you. Whenever you get the chance, you do try and connect with the center, with our central temples, communities, because that is also something Gurudev definitely liked, right? It's not necessary for someone to be living, full time in a temple or community, but that's not possible for everyone. But when you have the opportunity, you do, make that connection with our communities, and so it's a beautiful example for all of us. We're trying to live a Krishna-centered life, right? And that may take its form in different ways, but we're all striving for that. Vaishnava, Guru-centered, Krishna-centered, Mahaprabhu-centered life. We're all trying for that same thing in our different ways. Rihe tako, vane tako, sadahari bole dako, that's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Whether you're living in the forest, whether you're living at home, always take the name of Hari, right? Always take the holy name. That's ultimately what we're all trying to do. And you mentioned Sarva Dharmam Prityaja. It's interesting. We just went through that chapter today in our Japanese. We're having a Bhagavad Gita studies with our Japanese group. We just went through the 18th chapter today as well. So I was thinking about that verse too. And there's a very nice I was trying to remember. Let me try and find it now. Actually, open up our Krishna search. Because that verse, right, can be tricky to apply and accommodate, right, for someone who is living as a grihasta, right? Krishna says, give up everything, give up all duty, give up all religion and surrender to me. But does that mean everyone's supposed to, literally and actively give up everything in their life? That's not the case. And in because again, it means something deeper than that, rather just the physical renunciation. That's not what's wanted. And let me find in Centenary Anthology. I don't know if I can find it. There's a place where Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he says something, he's speaking about that verse, and he says something like, give up all local conceptions of self-interest, right? Something like that. That although you may be immersed in some duty in the world, you're not, as we said earlier, right? You're not thinking of it in terms of the I, me, and mine, right? You're giving that up, right? You're approaching your duties with a Krishna-centric vision, right? I don't know if I can.
Hey, Vishaka, can I just add something too that I'm
Yes,
thinking
please.
about? It's interesting too because just before that, I mean, Krishna's telling Arjuna like your nature is a kshatriya, like you have to do your duty, like you're gonna
Mm,
fight, you know. But it's
mm,
interesting too because I mean we all find ourselves in different circumstances, and it's not outside of the control of Krishna. Like Krishna's in
mm,
charge of everything. Like we're all where we're supposed to be. And for me right now, I mean, I have a job, I have a family, you know, and I'm trying to become Krishna conscious, and I'm trying to always have that mindset. I talk to Sudarshan a lot, and everyone knows Siddharshan. If you talk to Siddharshan long enough, you're going to hear about Sharanagati. And that's the whole point, though, is like every day in our lives, I mean, every moment we're trying to become Krishna conscious. Like we're trying to be conscious of Krishna and like whatever capacity, whatever that means to us. But even in my life, I'll find myself, I do maintenance. I like work for parts maintenance for my job, and I'll find myself out like digging weeds out of the dirt, and I'm thinking, how is this Krishna conscious? Like, how do I make this Krishna conscious? And so I'm trying to just be open. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything, I'm just pulling weeds, but like my consciousness, I'm trying to just be open to whatever's coming. And because I don't know, there's just certain things we do in our lives that can seem very like menial or this there's
Mhm.
not a lot of importance to it. And but we don't understand like where we're headed or what the purpose of all of it is. So I
Mm.
mean, in any time of our life, it just comes down to surrendering to where we're at. Sometimes our circumstances, I
Mhm.
mean, if Krishna wanted us to be somewhere for service, or Gurudev wanted us to be somewhere for service, like if we are surrendered and we're open, like eventually we'll move that way. But for now, like we find ourselves in all these different circumstances in our lives, but we also have to just surrender to that, and also just try to be conscious, of what is coming, and trying to serve that in whatever way, in whatever capacity. So for me right now, I Krishna's giving service, and we're all his servitors. So I have to, my family are their devotees. I have to try to serve them and bring them into Krishna consciousness. Like that's my duty now,
Mm.
and I have to surrender to that and just be open. And that's my
Mhm.
service. That we can serve anywhere, like you're saying. It's just, it comes down to just being conscious, surrendering to, our situation, and trying to see something greater from that, and moving into
Mm.
that. You know? Just some thoughts.
Yeah, very
That's how.
nice, Prabhu. Yeah, another thing that comes to mind is that sometimes we're cultivating separation, right? Because, there's direct service and there's also indirect service, right? And sometimes, you know, feeling the separation of Guru and Vaishnava, that's the most healthy thing for us, you know. And I'm reminded too of because ultimately what we're cultivating something internal, right? And I'm reminded of Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami when they first wanted to, leave their government jobs behind, leave all their worldly duties behind. They wanted to join Mahaprabhu and, live an exclusive life of service and supporting Mahaprabhu's mission. But they're entrenched in these government jobs, right, working for the Muslim government. And so they sent these letters to Mahaprabhu asking for permission. And you, of course, remember this pastime. And Mahaprabhu sent back this very cryptic message, saying a woman with a paramour lover, she will carry out all her household duties, very perfectly, right? That, and but internally she's always relishing the remembrance of her beloved, right? So she has her secret lover, and she's always remembering that in her heart. But on the surface, she's carrying out all her duties, very, very flawlessly, right? And so in the same way, at different times in our lives, we may face, devotees have to go to work, like you have to go to work, but you're internally remembering, what's the talk of Gurudev you just listened to, or what's this other lecture, or this book that you read, and internally you're hankering for a more direct connection, right? You're remembering that, you're relishing that, hankering for increasing your hankering for that, right? And it's actually intensifying, right? Your appreciation, your cultivation, that separation is actually creating a deeper type of union, a deeper type of connection, right? I mean, sometimes I think that the most Krishna conscious experience I had was this one period when I worked for a bookstore for 1 year. I was like 18 or 19 or something, and and what can I say? I was miserable. But what did that make me? It was like I was like really forced to like confront the world and like, how people live and think and act and all the nonsense so many people speak and what it really means, to live in the world. And it was very difficult. And but what it made me do is it put me in this really intense state of like desperation and spiritual hunger. And I remember in my lunch break, I'd go out to the park nearby and I'd read, I'd carry Prapana Jivanamrita with me. I'd be reading Prapana Jivanamrita. And I used to make all these notes, of different, inspiration that would come to me or reflections on verses. But it was, even though I was like ostensibly, out 9 to 5 every day, working in the bookshop, internally I was having this really intense, like spiritual experience. And I feel like being separated from that, right? Having to live, having to be in an environment that was opposing what I really wanted. It really forced me to increase, I was forced to go deeper in my appreciation, what the value is of being separated from, apparently separated from Krishna consciousness. It made me become more Krishna conscious, because the contrast was so great. And so I feel that is a valuable element, in our spiritual culture too. And even nowadays, sometimes I may be in different, when I'm traveling, sometimes I have to stay in different random places, be in different random circumstances, and it really makes you appreciate, those times when you can be with the community, when you have a really strong, solid program, you really appreciate more, so much more. So yes, different ways we can adjust these circumstances. Yeah, and it's interesting. It's a very interesting point because you see Mahaprabhu, he gave similar instruction to Raghunath Goswami, right? And ultimately they were all able to come and stay with Mahaprabhu permanently. But in the beginning, at least on those two occasions, once to Rupan Sanatan and another time to Raghunath Das Goswami, he also wanted to give up his, worldly life, his super rich family and everything. He wanted to go stay with Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu also gave a similar instruction, like, calm down, you know, we will gradually, slowly cross over the ocean of material existence. And so now you go and face the world, deal with the world, and interact with the world as is appropriate for you. And when it's the right moment, then you can leave, you can leave it all behind. And so I feel that, those instructions are for all of us actually, right? And sometimes, I remember sometimes when I liked one analogy that Udamani Prabhu gave, that we're all under anesthesia. And in the sense that we don't know like how we're being worked on, like we have to go through different circumstances in our lives and we don't quite, just like if you're having an operation, you're under anesthesia, you're not feeling everything, you don't know everything that's going on, but there's an adjustment, right, that's going on and you're being healed, right? And so in the same way in our lives, we have to go through so many circumstances and they're all purifying us and adjusting us in different ways. And we may not we can't, often we just can't understand why, what the purpose is. But there's some, deep level excavation going on, right? Deep level purification that's going on at a cellular level, spiritual cellular level, right? And we won't be able to know why and how and all these things. And so then, right, as Bhima was saying, the whole principle of Sharanagati comes into play, right? And we realize how important that is. Oh Lord, I don't know why, you know, this is happening to me, why I'm going through this, but I surrender to you, my Lord. I know this, I know nothing is happening for no reason. I know there's purpose behind everything. And I know that you are my loving guardian, right? Everything's coming not only to, correct me and purify me, but it's also coming with affection. It's coming with love behind it, right? Your love and your loving guardianship, your loving eye is over everything and behind everything. And so, I surrender to that. I surrender to your will. And I surrender to this circumstance that you have deemed fit, for me to, be in at this moment in time. And in those moments, our Sharanagati can become, the most profound that it ever was. I was just reading today, or just a little earlier, something very nice that Dundee Marsh published. I shared it on my Facebook. Let's see. It's a translation into, yeah, I may not work. It's originally English that was translated into Russian, and then now it's translated back into English with my Google Translate. So it's not, the most smooth text, but it's still pretty good. Happiness, suffering, and their combination in any situation are all a blessing of God. He is merciful beyond measure. In allowing us to experience the sufferings of this world, He gives us valuable guidance for our true good. By doing so, He shows that this world is not our eternal home. We are destined to be in the material world only for a short time. And apart from serving and pleasing Lord Hari, there is no need for other basically useless efforts. Many believe that by plunging us into suffering, God demonstrates cruelty. However, this is not the case. The genuine gift of God is this state of suffering. Through suffering, something lofty is revealed, through which our highest good can be secured. That's an interesting line. Through suffering, something lofty is revealed, through which our highest good can be secured. We could also think of this in terms of sacrifice, right? That it's something I was reflecting on recently too, that there's something within us that comes out, right, when we have to face challenge, right? Or when we make some type of sacrifice. There's something deep within our spirit, within our character, or whatever word you want to use, that there's like inner depth. Let's put it like that. There's inner depths within us that are revealed only when we have to face some sacrifice. We discover layers within ourselves that we didn't know we have, right? And I don't know if this was the original word of Saraswati Thakur, but it's nice. It's something lofty within us comes out, something more high, more elevated, more noble within us comes out, through the spirit of sacrifice, that is what excavates, this higher nature within us. Because this is actually, sacrifice is actually our true nature, right? It is the nature of the jiva to sacrifice. And so when we make that movement of sacrifice, in whatever way it may be, right? Maybe through tolerating some circumstance, maybe through giving our energy in some way, right? In whatever way we're making sacrifice, we're coming closer to our true nature, right? As dedicating agents, as serving, loving, serving agents of the Lord. And sacrifice is at the core of our nature. And so when we make an expression of sacrifice, and we're coming in connection, we're awakening that we're coming closer to our true self, right? So it's a very, very powerful thing to do. Um, And then he quotes these prayers of Kunti Devi, right? Kunti Devi in her famous prayer, she's praying for more trouble, for more difficulty to come. We know this from the prayers of Sri Kunti Devi, who prayed for obstacles to come again and again so that she could attain his darshan, his vision, detachment from this material world. Neither significant birth, nor knowledge, nor wealth, nor external beauty can open the way to him. And as stated in the verse recited by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya before Sriman Mahaprabhu, Tate Nukampam, you all know that verse, I think, right? A devotee who remains patient in the face of any difficulty attains the grace of Kṛṣṇa. These sufferings were given to eradicate our meaningless aversion to God. The mind, which is prone to aversion to Him, pushes us to desire to enjoy. Recognizing that both joy and sorrow are sent by God's grace, we gain confidence in our genuine good. So again, English is a little unreliable, but we can we can get the gist of what's being said. This is from a speech that Saraswati Thakur gave March 1928. So, just one example, right? How facing different challenging circumstances are all coming to help us to purify us in different ways. We can adjust our vision in the right way. And then there will be that moment that will come, right? When we've passed through something and we will feel, oh, something else has come out, right? Some inner beauty, some inner strength, some deeper character within myself. It's come out, right, in the face of this circumstance. And we're connecting with a deeper layer of reality in ourselves and our connection with the Lord. That moment will come. We will feel that. Any other comments or questions or anything from anyone? We're always trying to come back into the center, right? The mind, the ego, the senses, they're taking us away, right? Srila Sridhar Maharshi used those expressions, incoming current and outcarrying current, right? The current of Mahamaya, right? Taking us out far, far away. The world of the senses, the mind, the ego. And then there's the current of Yoga Maya, right? Taking us into what is the real center, home, taking us home. Actually, homecoming, that's what we want. So we're always moving between these two currents, right? And these two lines. Sometimes we may feel helpless, right? Just observing ourselves and seeing the movements of our mind and taking us so far away. And then in those moments, we can pray to Kṛṣṇa, oh Kṛṣṇa, oh Mahaprabhu, oh Gurudev, Vaishnava, please rescue me. Please bring me back home. Please bring me into the center. And Raghunath Das Goswami has that prayer where he's saying, when we're in trouble, he compares all these enemies, right? Lust, anger, greed, all these things he compares to like highway robbers that may attack us on the road. And so he says, Raghunath says, we must call out the names of the Vaishnavas, call out the names of the saints, pray for their protection. Just like if we're being attacked on the road, we'll call out for help, right, to some passerby. So we can call out the names of the Vaishnavas, call out to Shri Guru, to the Lord, please help me. I'm under attack. Please bring me back. Bring me back to safety, to shelter. We can maybe read some verses from Prapana Jivanamrita on this theme. This best book, Prapana Jivanamrita. Oh, I just opened up to this verse. It feels very on point, what we've been talking about today. This is by Kulashekar. Samsara dukkha krishtanam Shri Vishnu paramam param evaikashaya. This is Srila Sridhar Maharaj's illumination. Oh, so sorry, this is chapter 5, Confidence in the Lord's Protection. That is the chapter. The holy feet of Lord Vishnu are the only shelter for persons tormented by the miseries of material existence. And then this is the verse. Bhava jaladi gatanam dvandva vatahatanam sutta duhucha kalatra trana barardi tanam vishama vishayatoye majatam aplavanam bhavati sharanam eko vishnupoto naranam. Now this is the verse by Kulashekar. For those persons who, bereft of a vessel, have fallen into the ocean of mundane existence, who are being lashed by the hurricane of duality based on mundane attraction and aversion, who are crushed by the burden of protecting wife and family, etc., who are drowning in the ghastly whirlpool of sensual pleasures, the only shelter is the lifeboat of the holy lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. Oh, this is one of my female Prabhu appreciates that one. This is one of my favorites. This is I can see Suvasini smiling. Big Prapana Jivanamrita fan. This is very nice. This is two verses later. So this is also Kulashekar. Satyam bravimi manuja swayam ordva baho yo yo mukunda narasimha janardaneti jivojapatyanudinam marane raneva pashana kashta sajushaya dadatya bishtam. O human civilization, with arms upraised, I proclaim this truth. The holy name awards all desired success upon even stone or wooden-hearted persons who, in the struggle for existence, constantly chant the Lord's names, such as Mukunda, Narasimha, and Janardhan. So this is all confidence in the Lord's protection. This is Jamuna Charya. Ayogyanam apyashastalam, the reservoir of hope for even the unqualified. Durantasya nader apariharani yasya mahato vihina chadoham nirpashur ashubhasyaspadam api dayasindo bando niravadika vatsalya jalades tavasmadam smadam gunaganam iti chami gatapi. So the reservoir of hope for even the unqualified. O sea of compassion, I am no better than a wicked animal on 2 feet, the most incorrigible parasite, a beginningless and endless reservoir of the greatest inauspiciousness. Nonetheless, I abide in fearlessness, repeatedly remembering the divine qualities of you, the endless ocean of affection, and the supreme friend. Oh, this one, this is really very heart-touching expression from Rupa Goswami. I'll just read the English here. The only shelter for the shelterless. I am drowning in some remote region of a fathomless, treacherous ocean. The vast sea of frustration swept by the tide of hallucination. O friend of the shelterless, O benediction moon, please just once now lend me your helping hand. We mentioned Draupadi earlier. This is an expression of Draupadi. Like the sun ascending through the darkness, like a boat for the helplessly drowning, like a rain cloud of sweet waters for the parched, like a treasure for the impoverished, like a physician for the deadly afflicted, the Lord Sri Krishna is now coming to bless us with all good fortune. So that's all confidence in Lord's protection. Next chapter is embracing the Lord's guardianship. Oh, this is one favorite of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. Krishna Twarya Padapankaja Panjarantam Adyaiva Me Vishatumana Saraja Hamsa Pranaprayana Samaye Kafavata Pitai Kantavarodana Vidos Madanam Kutaste. And apologies for my bad Sanskrit pronunciation. I'm not comfortable with Sanskrit. I feel very comfortable with Bengali, although I may not always be so accurate with Bengali, but a little more than the Sanskrit. Sanskrit is sometimes very difficult. So this is also Kula Shekhar. Oh, Krishna, please allow my mind to immediately yield to your lotus flower-like feet, just as the flamingo enters into the labyrinth of the lotus flower stems. When at the moment of my last breath, my throat becomes constricted by the action of the bodily humors, air, bile, and phlegm, how will I be able to remember you? Very beautiful imagery of the bird becoming entangled with the lotus flowers. Oh, this is one of my all-time favorites. This is Jamunacharya. Na dharma nishtosmi, na chatma vedi, na bhakti mams twat charanara vinde, akinchano nanya gati sharanya twat paramulam sharanam papadye. O supreme refuge, I am not religious. I do not know the nature of the soul, nor have I any devotion for your holy lotus feet. Therefore, I am bereft. I am bereft of all good, and I am bereft of any other shelter. Such as I am, I surrender unto the dust of your lotus feet. So beautiful. Manaso Vitayo Nasyu Krishna Parambu Jashaya Vacho Bidhayi Nirnam Nam Kayas Tat Pravanadishu. This is Nanda Maharaj. O Uddhava, may our thoughts take refuge in the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. May our words be the chanting of his holy names, and may our bodies be engaged in making obeisance unto him. Oh, I'll just read one more. This is, I think, also very appropriate for our discussion today. This is Jamunacharya. In Srila Sridhar Maharaj's illumination, the shelter of the Supreme Lord is awarded by his merciful glance. And this is the verse. O Lord, spreading darkness in all directions, the clouds of ignorance are constantly raining multifarious calamities. I've lost my way in this storm of material suffering. O infallible Lord, kindly cast your glance upon me. Right. Mahaprabhu's in his car now, heading to work. Suvasini, did you any closing comments for our meeting today?
Oh, whatever you said is beautiful, Didi. I'm just, when you're reading this Prapanna Jivanamritam, I just was also remembering this beautiful verse of Kulashekar. Ma bhair mandamano vichintya baghuda yamis chiram yatana. That is very, very beautiful, because it's giving like the hope, right? I always remember that.
Which verse is that? Is that one we
It's
just
also in
read?
fifth chapter. Can you? It's a confidence in the Lord's protection, I think, isn't it?
Okay.
It's in the beginning.
In the beginning, okay. Let me find it.
Let me find it. It's, I think it's 5.
Here it is. I have 5. It's 5:5. 5:5.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Should I read this one out? Or
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
So Srila Sridhar Maharaj's illumination is the servants of Lord Hari are always protected by Lord Hari. And the verse by Kulashekar, O wicked mind, fear not the thought of the multifarious perpetual tortures that are your due. Your enemies, your sins have no claim over you, because the only actual Lord and Master is the Supreme Lord, Sridhar. Give up your apathy and absorb your thoughts in Lord Narayan, who is happily attainable by devotion. Is not he who destroys the calamities of all planets capable of annihilating the defects of his personal servitors? Yeah, it's very encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah. Because we are not actually, capable of so many things, which, the scriptures say so many things, but we don't have the strength to, overcome all that, the different the defects in us. So we pray to Gurudev for the strength, right? It's even the song, the Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya. We say, like we're asking for his, to give us the strength. Baladiya Koro, give me the Baladiya Koro. Kripa Bindu. So only by their grace and only, by their mercy, we can, we can get up. It's not by our own strength we will be able to achieve so much. It is, it's only our desire. We have to desire that, we want to be like that, and then pray for that grace.
So we have no reason to be hopeless.
Yes. We are so tiny, how much we can, do, right? It's just we are easily overcome by so many unwanted things in the material world, so many things. But if if by their grace only we'll be able to cross over overcome the defects. Yes.
Give up your apathy and absorb your thoughts in Lord Narayan. Today, as I said, we went through the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and there's in the beginning part of the 18th chapter, Krishna is talking about, the modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, and how they play out in different areas, right? And in different ways. And one point he speaks about is determination, different types of determination. What is determination, the mode of goodness, what is determination and passion, and then ignorance. And one was for determination, the mode of ignorance, there was one that was like to not give up depression or apathy or lethargy. I thought that was, oh, hello. And then the Christians appeared to join the Zoom meeting. And say hello to everyone.
Noir.
And Shreyash is also here. Welcome, Shreyash Prabhu. Yeah, that was a funny one. The determination to not the determination to not give up being depressed, right? And the determination to not give up lethargy, right? Because there is this hopelessness that one may feel, or depression that may overcome us, right? How am I ever going to become free of these things, right? But here, Krishna specific, the Lord, well, we're being specifically told, sorry, this is Kulashekar, give up that apathy, give up that depression, give up that lethargy, and take hope, take strength in the Lord's mercy and the Lord's power. He can destroy the calamities of all planets. He cannot remove some little defects in us. Are you so important? Are we so great that, it's like that reminds us of that comment of Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, right? When one of his disciples said, "Oh, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen." And Prabhupada said, "You're not the most anything." You think your fallenness is so great that Krishna can't purify you? Are you so special? Yeah, I'm gonna make it to the Guinness World Records of fallenness. I'm more fallen than anyone else. Yeah. I really liked one explanation that Gurudev gave about ego, saying how ego is an ever expanding world, right? And that really hit me because it's so interesting how ego can infect anything. You can have an ego about being the best at something, but you can also have an ego about being the worst at something, right? I got the lowest exam score in the whole school, right? Like you could get some pride out of that. I got the #1 exam score. That's another type of pride, right? Or you can yeah, I clean the toilets, I do the lowest service, or I'm the temple president. I've got the top job. The ego is just so sneaky, so insidious, it can like get involved in anything. Very, very interesting thing. So it's like we gotta be ever vigilant, right? We gotta always be on watch, be on guard, see how it can creep into to anything. Well, thank you, Subhasanjiri, for bringing up that verse. All right, well, so good to see everyone's smiling faces and auspicious names. We will close there for today. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Rakshak Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Haribo.
Shakaditi ki jai.
Jai Sivasni Ji ki Jai. Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. See you all next time. Haribo.
Haribo.